Hey there. So I decided to kind of make a video a little bit helter-skelter without a really big agenda. I just wanted to talk about something that I thought that was really interesting in a client session I had earlier today, and something that's been very prevalent in multiple clients that I've seen as like this issue that they don't realize is really impacting their health and their ability to make healthy choices. And that is whether or not they're able to really put themselves out into a place of speaking their hearts and mind and get into situations where they might have to deal with conflict. I know a lot of people that it is just very tough for them to be in a space of conflict. And so instead of going into that space, they keep quiet, they try not to rock the boat, and they try to make sure everybody else is happy. The problem is, when you live life like that, you struggle to say no when you want to say no, and you struggle to make time for yourself when you need to make time for yourself. And that includes making time to work out, that includes making time to just even sit down and enjoy a meal. And that includes making time to focus on, okay, if I am wanting to have this health goal or this life goal even, and I'm not really acting in alignment with that, what's going on there? How can I restructure my life to make this more of a priority? It is so hard for us to shift our health habits if our unhealthy habits are actually serving a purpose of ensuring that we're not going into conflict with anybody. And sometimes when you have to make these health changes, you are having to say, hey, I'm going to eat this dinner that's different than what my family normally eats, and I'm going to have a conversation about that. Or I'm going to have to say no to certain people in my life and maybe reach out and say yes to others so that I'm making healthy connections with people who can support me in this journey. But there's all sorts of different scenarios that come up where if you're struggling with conflict or if you're struggling to set boundaries for yourself, it's almost impossible to create changes in your life in a healthy way because you won't be able to speak up for yourself in that way. And there's a lot of different ways that you can work on that. But I just wanted to kind of bring that out, that is a big issue to tackle that inadvertently really helps people work on their health issues and their relationships as well. The other part that's tricky about being a person who's always trying to people please and it struggles to speak up for themselves and say no when something's not okay is that you struggle with this, or not really struggle, but the thing that ends up happening unintentionally is that you're not really showing your true self to other people. People are not really getting the chance to get to know the real you. The real you that is going to have some things that get on your nerves, and you're going to have different preferences, and you're going to have to say no sometimes, even when the other person wants you to say yes. And so unintentionally sometimes it can build these relationships in our lives that don't really feel completely authentic because they don't really get a chance to fully connect with us and get to know us on a real level. So anyway, it was relevant to the conversation I was having this morning with the client, and I've seen this happen for so many different people that if you struggle with boundaries and if you're struggling to say no or to get into a situation where there might be conflict, I would highly consider looking at that and working with somebody to figure out what that's about and figure out different ways of handling it in a way that feels authentic to you and feels safe. Oftentimes when people struggle with conflict, it's not because they're wusses. They're totally not. They're actually usually very strong, courageous people in other ways, but there's usually some element of feeling like this conflict isn't safe for me in some way. Or maybe it was something I learned early on where when I did see conflict, it was really awful, or it was physically aggressive, or a very dangerous thing in other ways. So usually people develop that sense of avoiding conflict for very good reasons, but the problem is we end up not giving ourselves a voice when we struggle to put ourselves in those situations and when we don't learn how to do conflict in a way that's healthy. So I encourage that for you if you're struggling with that. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that for today.